Vamos a tener a Jaco Huisman otra vez, que nos ha hecho el favor también de exponernos cuál es el marco normativo que viene en pilas y acumuladores y especialmente de vehículos eléctricos. Así que volvemos a tener una presentación grabada, que lo bueno es que dura el tiempo exacto.
Good day. Before you assume I'm Spanish, looking at the title slide, I'm not. It's my colleague and policy officer for the battery regulation, Cesar Santos, that co-drafted this presentation with me. But he's very busy with the technical trilogues at the moment and could not present this presentation. To start with you with a little bit of context. As you know, batteries is a growing market. And if we look at the demand for batteries, we are kind of expecting nothing less than an explosion in the amount here addressed in capacity coming from electric mobility up to 14, 15, maybe even 20 times more by 2030. So this development and production is really a strategic imperative for Europe and absolutely necessary for working in the clean energy transition, and in particular, of course, for the transport sector to improve things. If we look at this also from a waste point of view, at some point, in particular, the new lithium-ion batteries are going to be a very significant waste stream. But the million, or better said, the billion-dollar question will be when this is going to happen. Now, the battery regulation is not just about EV batteries. Also, the energy storage dimension is very significant, as you know, to also facilitate this further greening of the electricity mix. And of course, there's still a lot of lead-acid batteries in vehicles, industrial batteries, and also a lot of portable batteries at stake that need attention, as well as a new extension of the scope related to light means of transport batteries. If we go back to the objectives of the Commission proposal, it has three main elements: strengthening the internal market, a more level playing field, and let's say raising the bar also from a sustainability point of view, to promote the circular economy, and to look at the environmental and social impacts through all the stages of the battery life cycle. So objectives behind it is really to foster production in the EU market for high quality batteries, and through all the different life cycle stages, all the way also up to fostering, let's say, the EU recycling market. There's a lot of attention to sustainability and safety requirements, so I will handle chapter 2 and 7 explicitly in the rest of this presentation. And here's the first one, an important one also for you from a recycler point of view, is recycled content targets. And then, let's say, recycled content targets are set for EV and industrial batteries above 2 kilowatt hours, in particular for cobalt, for the lead content, for lithium, and for nickel. Jumping to chapter 7 on the end-of-life management, here the very important part, of course, is first of all the register and EPR requirements. The EPR requirements will also be fully aligned with the requirements of the Waste Framework Directive, and as a summary, producers will have to finance, organize, and promote the separate collection and treatment of waste batteries, report to competent authorities, and provide also information related to end-of-life and second life elements for the batteries that are at stake. Producers, like many of the other waste or specific waste directives, can act either alone individually or collectively at a national level in the form of PROs. Article 48 is arranging the collection and the criteria for that for waste portable batteries. Here, producers, PROs, have to ensure that the collection of waste portable batteries is okay. Collection should be free of charge. There are also improved requirements also in the related Article 52 for EOV and V collectors and recycling facilities to also improve the reporting of batteries they are removing from, let's say, the products. The collection of waste automotive, industrial, and EV batteries. Here there are no explicit targets in the proposal. That doesn't mean that they don't have to be collected. Actually, it's the opposite. We are assuming or taking the perspective that all these batteries need to be collected when becoming available. It basically means 100% recycling target. And also the producers here have to take care of the collection points, etc. And now, when it comes to the collection targets, this is an interesting one. In my previous life at the Joint Research Center, I have been looking at the scope for light means of transport, and also to see if it is possible or recommendable to also have another type of collection target, much more related to the volume of batteries that becomes available. And that is in particular relevant for the LMT batteries, because there's a high volume entering the market, but in particular with this application in e-bikes and a 10-year lifespan, for instance, it takes a long time before they are really available for collection. Other important articles is the recycling efficiencies. Starting with the lead acid batteries for 75 and 80% in 2030. There are targets for lithium and for other batteries. The lithium one, this is not correct, 65%, but the lithium proposal from the Commission is to start with 35%, to go to 70% in around 2030. So this should, on one hand, let's say the levels prescribed here should be an important incentive to develop the necessary recycling infrastructure. At the same time, they should also not be over demanding and not something that, let's say, it takes time to develop this recycling infrastructure, and that needs to be taken into account here as well, to also have realistic targets in the future. Second Life. This is an important article, of course. Very important element is that, and there's a link with Article 14 of the battery regulation, is that BMS is providing the necessary information on, let's say, the past experiences with the battery at stake, and that also independent operators can have access to the information to facilitate more remanufacturing and repurposing of these batteries where, let's say, the market is going into that direction. And also for second life batteries, have been careful thinking about also the cost sharing mechanisms for EPR. Now, the battery passport. This is something a lot of debate. It will be done in the form of secondary legislation. This will be a lengthy process. It can take easily 5 to 7 years later. So one part is really publicly accessible. It's very important that the information is available to both end users as well as to other economic operators. We'll have to see how this will be future, how the implementation will look like, who's going to pay, who's going to organize it. But there are, let's say, various steps, and this is also something that will be carefully aligned with the new sustainable products regulation that is just being tabled, where the digital dimension of a whole range of products, including batteries, later maybe also vehicles and tires from vehicles, will get its specific attention. So this is quite important, that in also the future, this digital dimension is also being harmonized. Now, what is ahead? I think you will have the same million-dollar question again. When are you going to deliver? When will the battery regulation really be adopted and implemented? When does it enter into force? Well, the steps before are available. There are at the moment the ongoing political and technical discussions between Council and Parliament as co-decisions. We think the most likely scenario, but it is anyone's guess, you never know what happens here, but is that during the Czech presidency, so the second half of this year, that the political agreement is, and that the battery regulation can enter into force in the first quarter of next year. And if you want to know more information, feel free to contact us. And if you look online, you can also find the latest positions of the Council and the European Parliament in relation to the Commission proposal that we have been presenting here. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention and enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you very much.